got my goggles on, my socks are off. I'm flying through the hallway like a disco ball. Pitching to the couch, then I loop through the fan. My tiny whoop's grooving like a funky jam. Dip through the doorway, spin by the cat, bounce off the toaster, yeah, I meant to do that. Neighbors knocking, saying, what's that sound? It's my brush motor soul train getting down. Flying through curtain, dancing on breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with ease. Tiny whoop magic, bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop it all. I got LED strobes and a shag rug trail. I'm looping through the lava lamp, leaving a tail. My whoop's got rhythm, my stick's got soul. I'm the pilot of the party. On a roll, TV remotes a gate, the lamps are dive. I'm flying like it's 75. No GPS, no rules, no shame. Just a funky little quad in a soul train frame. Move it low, move it low. We fly that flow, move it low. Spread that gap, no time to nap, no time to nap. Hit that roll, funk and control, funk and control. Bounce that wall, bounce that all. We fly it all, funk it all. We fly it all. Tiny whoop love, funky and free. We fly indoors, we fly with glee. Whoop it, loop it, groove it, move it, bounce it, flip it, funk it, rip it, fly that soul, don't lose control. Tiny whoop love gonna make you whole. I thread the needle through the vinyl stacks, bounce off the mirror ball, never looking back. My quad's got soul, it's got style, it's got sass. It dips through the incense like a blast from the past. I'm flying figure eights through the lava lamp glow, dodging house plants like a funky pro. My whoop's got rhythm, my stick's got heat. I'm the pilot of the party with the grooviest beat. I loop through the hallway, I dive by the broom. I'm the disco ghost in your living room. I hit that splitter over grandma's chair. She just claps and says, boy, you got flair. I'm flying freestyle with a velvet touch. My quad so smooth it don't need a clutch. From the shag rug to the ceiling fan, I'm the funky little fly with a master plan. The curtains dancing on the breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with ease. Tiny whoop magic bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop at all. Can't stop at all. Can't stop at all.
What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti, and I got Kevin Sumner on the voice of God. We were just talking about charging batteries safely and not burning your houses down. You should do that. You should not burn your homes down. Just in general. Tonight we're going to be working on the SirenA or SirenA. I don't know. They use a capital here. What is this called? Type in chat. How do you pronounce this phonetically in chat? What's the oh god, what have I done? There it is. That's the one. Can I not what's happening? Why can't I what happened here? Where's the keystroke for zooming in the whole... There it is. How is that... spell that phonetically, friends. Is that SirenA? Why is there no space here? There's no space here! But then this is capital? Is it SirenA? Or is it SirenA? regardless, this is what we're working on tonight. This is Quadmula's heavy-duty 3.5-inch frame set up for 04 Pro. I just got a 04 Pro, one of the 2026 ones, so the gyro might never work properly. And so, perfect. Put it into a freestyle frame. Freestyle has no business being stabilized, and so, great. We'll beat the living hell out of this thing until it implodes, and by then, maybe they'll have the gyro situation figured out. And then I'll get to change it, hopefully with a gyro that actually does work, because it would be really nice to be able to use gyro flow with something like this, 3.5-inch setup that's kind of efficient, with damn near indestructible motors. So, like, it would be really cool to be able to put a fresh set of propellers on this and stabilize it, right? Fly like proper 3.5-inch cinematic-ish stuff. But that's not going to happen right now. Well, I mean, there are some workarounds. We've talked about the workarounds, but none of them are all that great. There is a thread on DJI's forum that Brandon's Baked Beans has very kindly been contributing to, and a couple other awesome people, where maybe we can get DJI to do a some sort of a firmware update with a 24K. So this new gyro that DJI is using in the 04 Pro, thank you, and they have been using in the 04 Lite, is a 24K gyro, 24,000 cycles per second. As we've found out in FPV in the past, that is a bad gyro to use. Raceflight tried to use really high 24 and I think even 48K gyros, and it was a nightmare. And so go figure, DJI is using a crazy fast cycle rate gyro, and it's a bit of a mess. But some people much smarter than me are hoping that if they put a specific anti-aliasing filter designed for 24K gyros into the software, it might help the situation quite a bit, because what it looks like right now is the previous gyro they were using on the 04 Pros was, I think it was 8K, it might have been 4K, either 4K or 8K, and the anti-aliasing filter has not been changed. And so this 24K gyro is actually going through an 8K anti-aliasing filter, which hopefully is where the problem is. Maybe not, but maybe. And so either nothing's going to change, or maybe they will fix the 04 Lite issue that we've spent, by we I mean me, has spent 40, 50 hours dealing with over the past few weeks. I don't think that time is wasted per se, because hard mounting an HD camera is rough, regardless if it has a gyro that's working properly with gyro flow. There is going to be the potential for jello, and so all of the testing that we've been doing will absolutely reduce jello, in addition to making it able to run through gyro flow. So the testing that we're doing right now, I've paused it a little bit because we were going pretty hard on that for a couple weeks there. The testing is still totally valid. It'll be a little bit less valid, but yeah, if you can't run an ND filter, jello becomes a serious problem in the middle of the day. And so having the best balanced props, a frame that's really stiff, right, motors that are well balanced, is going to make a huge difference. So yeah, all data is good data. There it is. Nice. In the chat, FizzFPV was first, Matthew Wegner, Sear, Fleemo, Jimmy Bobby, Mick Mucus, Blueback, Kevin Sumner, Uriel, Frank Dr. Nicholas, Capital C, Zout, Cole, Guzman, Secret Fader, Off Axis, Uriel, Fizz. What's that? I'm just gonna go with Varden, because what Archibald? Oh, Varden Archibald, the capital letters. I'm an old person, and so mixing capital letters with lowercase letters, it just, you know, I can't handle it. Too old. Portal's End. Uke. I think I got everybody. What's up, friends? Thank you for coming. CiottiFPV.com to support me. Click some buttons. Patreon helps the most. Change all of your bookmarks to affiliate links so that you support someone with no negatives on your side, right? When you use affiliate links, it doesn't affect you in any way. It's just hard to remember to use them. You have to hit the affiliate links over and over and over again. Like, you click an affiliate link, it sits there in your shopping cart for about a week, and then it gets cleared out. So if you do your order within that week, great. If you don't, it gets cleared out of there. So easiest thing to do is just go through your bookmarks one at a time. Or if you don't use bookmarks and you just type like get for getFPV into your URL bar, and then it auto suggests the rest, you can delete your getfpv.com auto suggestion, hit someone's affiliate link a couple times in a row, and now your browser will think that when you type get, you actually want to go to that person's affiliate link, and now you don't have to think about it, and you support people that make stuff that you watch on YouTube for free. Do it. Do one at a time. I know it's probably hard to do them all at once, so just do one at a time. Do one right now. Do it. Go, 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 go! In the chat, if you want to talk directly to me, type at CiottiFPV. It says it right here. Uriel says, a wonder, did you really get the post? Not yet, brother. Hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow. My fingers are crossed. Blueback says, CiottiFPV pooping again. Nope. Fizz says, did he not say the name in his introduction video? Oh, yeah, there's a couple videos of it. But, you know, we can pronounce things however the hell we want. We don't have to go by how some stranger... Where's the introduction video, though? Is it I don't see it on the... I guess whoever designed it. I don't... Does Quadmula have a YouTube page? Let's see. Doesn't look... Wow, oh, look at that! Oh, shit, I didn't even... Oh, the regular F5. I was gonna say, I didn't think that Joshua did a video on the SirenA. Yeah, so, I mean, like, unless Quadmula has a video where whoever named it says what it is, then it's up for interpretation. But yeah, this is the SirenA, is what I'm gonna call it. It is a beefy version of their F35 frame. Quadmula has they've got the Jin, the DJINN. That is their 2.5 inch top mount battery, like freestyle frame. They've got the F30, which I have built over here with DJI 03 in, which is awesome. And then they've got the F35, the regular F35. Those three, the Jin, the F30, and the F35, they are a really good mix of lightweight and durable. They're not super durable, they're not super lightweight, they're right in between. And so you can absolutely break the arms. I'm completely fine with that. When an arm breaks, as far as I'm concerned, it saved the motor. And the motors are more expensive and more annoying to change. And so I have no problem with it, as long as you're not breaking arms constantly, which these three Quadmula frames, it's not an issue. Like, the arms are strong enough. A huge hit that would have eaten the motor is going to break the arm, and maybe it saves the motor. The SirenA is the version of the F35 that has been beefed up significantly and set up for DJI 04. I think they have a version of the Jin that's now set up for the 04. Don't quote me on that, though. But that's what the SirenA is. It is significantly beefier. It's more expensive. It is a fucking tank. This frame is really, really, really strong. This frame being a tank is a part of the reason that I didn't feel too bad tearing apart the Grinderino. Because this is sort of in a similar vein of being like super sturdy, can pound on it pretty good. It's going to be heavy like that build. It's going to be over 300 grams all up weight, but that's where you want to be with 3.5 inch propellers. So this should be really cool. It'll hold 04, internal, protected, no top plate in view, no nonsense. should be really fun. I'm excited for this build. So yeah, I have soldered up 2 of the motors. We're going to solder up the other 2, and I'll give you guys all kinds of soldering tips, as I always do. And then we'll see how much more we can go after that. I have the flight controller, the flight controller from the... So this is a new ESC. The ESC that was in the Granderino was on its way out. And so that thing is now gone. So fresh ESC, I'm going to have to make the cable between the flight controller and the ESC. But the flight controller itself is good to go. It's got an ELRS receiver hooked up to it, which I'll probably leave. But it is on 03, so I have to desolder the 03, and then we'll bust open this 04 Pro, solder that up, and then we'll be good. That's this is a little bit of an abbreviated build. I was really thrilled that the distance from the ends of the arms to the ESC between the Granderino and this frame is pretty much exactly the same. So I didn't have to redo any of the motor wires. So I'm able to just solder them up and go. So that saved me a bunch of time. So yeah, this will be a pretty straightforward, pretty smooth build. Fill the chat up with questions, and of course we will hang out, learn some stuff together, and yeah, that's what we do around here. Cole says test the stabilization before you beat the shit out of it. Yeah, so this is also thank you for that reminder. This is going to be cool too, because all of my other 04 Pros are 2025, 2024. This is going to be my first experience with an 04 Pro with the higher speed gyro. And so I've done all this testing with the 04 lights on really lightweight little builds. And we've learned a lot, and I have a really good feel for like when the gyro data is going to become aliased and basically garbage. It'll be really cool to see what happens on a much bigger, much heavier build. In theory, this should be a little bit better, but it might not. It might actually be worse. Early days of trying to figure all this out, it seemed like, and it still does somewhat seem like, the higher frequency vibrations are what really get handled the worst. But as I did more testing, it started to seem like the intensity of the vibrations are a bigger part of the problem. And so a bigger build might actually be worse. This is a build that's going to have a hard-mounted camera, so we're absolutely going to have issues. And so I think that we'll learn a little bit from this build. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. I'm excited. Let's get actually. Let me go wipe my snotty ass nose real quick. Kevin, what's happening in your life? I can hear you. You can't hear me, though. Oh, man. I fucking didn't. There's something. Why is it not putting Kevin's audio through? Kevin, talk again? Oh, because I clicked the button. Oh, wait. It's still not working. Why is it not? Hold on. Mac OS audio capture. That's back-ish. We're sort of back. Maybe we're back. Kevin, talk again? Ah, there we go.
Okay. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Why is it coming out of my speakers now? Hold on. It's
I don't know.
It's coming out of both sets of speakers? Oh, because I clicked that button. Kevin, talk again?
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, I'm talking.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Good to go. Sorry about that, friends. Kevin, tell the people about Castle Crash again.
Yeah,
Say everything
so
you just said all over again.
I literally before these live streams, I have Castle Crash meetings every other week, and we just had a planning meeting, one of our first of the year for planning Castle Crash. Got a lot of good new stuff on tap and a lot of the old stuff. If your Labor Day weekend is free, you should come hang out with us in the woods. I'll be there. A bunch of cool people are going to be there. Ciotti's going to be there.
Hell yeah.
It's a good party. It's a good time.
It is.
Fly some
if
drones.
you guys don't come out, you're gone. You either come to Castle Crash or you're out.
I appreciate the support. But yeah, here you go. I'm dropping the link in chat. Castlecrash.org is where you get your tickets. Go grab your meal plan. If I can spell Castle Crash, that would be wonderful. I've only been doing it for 4 years. Yeah, get your tickets, get your meal plan with some delicious and frankly greasy food from the wonderful people at Vixen's. They always take good care of us.
Yeah, it's a blast.
It's an amazing time. It's an amazing time.
Is. CiottiFPV says, has 96K PWM been tried on the ESCs for the 04 Pro to see if that improves the issues? Probably, but like I'm not gonna try it because it flies like shit, and like I'd rather not use stabilization than deal with 96K PWM. That being said, it's not an electrical noise issue. It's a physical vibration issue. So the only way that 96K PWM would help is because it just kills the motor braking, and by having very little motor braking, it might make the rig fly so floaty and kind of shitty that it's not able to generate the intensity that trips gyro flow out. And so yeah, like there's a slight chance that it might help, but the negatives that are going to come with that are going to far outweigh any benefit. So yeah, but the long and short of it is that this is not an electrical noise problem. And so that, yeah, so 96K shouldn't really help. But yeah, YouTube did the thing, says morning from the UK, CiottiFPV and gang. Giddybot says, can I send you some stickers for giveaways? Absolutely. Yeah, you guys can send me kind of whatever, and I'll throw them in the giveaways and stuff that I send out. Ryan Sadat says, yo, what's your opinion on the Cockroach 65 V3 versus the Mobula 6 2024 frame in terms of a durable whoop frame / indestructible whoop build? The Mobula 6 2024 frame sets the motors down too low, and then the props run below the duct. So every time you bump into something, the props hit the standoffs and they stall the motor out. And so every time you bump into something, you crash. The Cockroach 65 V3 has been my favorite frame for years now because of two main reasons. One, it doesn't do that. It sits the motors at the correct height so that the props glide around the inside of the actual duct. So sometimes when you bump into stuff, the prop will just slide off the inside of the duct and keep moving. The other thing that I love about the Cockroach 65 V3 frame is that the duct itself is taller. And so that slows it down and makes it more accurate. It makes it want to go in a straight line, which is super important inside the house where all of the distances are shrunken down so small. So yeah, Cockroach 65 V3 has been the frame to run for freestyle for many years now. It's why it's on like pretty much all of my builds. Mike K says, what motors are you running on that? These are the X-Nova 1804 3500s, and they're the M5 nut version for just ultimate bash ability and easy prop changes. T-mount screws, they're totally fine, but like when you're flying from the back deck of your car and you drop one of them in the grass, it's gone forever. And it's just super annoying to kind of deal with. If you're just flying in your front yard, it's whatever. But like if you're going out places flying and you want to do quick prop changes with it, the M5 nuts are an absolute godsend. Look at me go. I'm doing things that I should do. I'm doing the Come on, phone. Come on. Can you?
Gesundheit. Gesundheit.
Come to YouTube. I'm sneezing all over the place while live streaming. Get your asses over here, Instagram people. Look, see, I can do things. I can yell at people. I can yell at people across platform. Oh my God, what is happening with my face? www.youtube.com/CiottiFPV. Yay! Oh no, I typed in YouRube. That's not gonna work. Will it let me edit it? Let me guess, it won't let me edit it. You bastard.
Old man yells at cloud, literally.
Just yelling into the ether. Why? No, that's a T. youtube.com/ There we go. Is that spelled right? Did I do it right? I'm sure it's messed up in some other way. I'm moving it to the bottom of the screen. And I'm pushing the Your Stories button. Look at that. Yay! Okay, great. Sorry, friends. But it's important to do social media things, because if you don't do social media things, then you're not as good of a person. Anybody that's just listening, I'm shaking my head no. All right, cool. What's happening in chat? Where we at? Giddybots, we got you. Ryan Sadat, we got you. Mike K, got you. YouTube just did the thing. Scroll to the bottom. Thanks so much for that. It makes my life just terrific. Nyafu says, thoughts on people who go Slop Express 5-inch for their first build. I see people do it so often, and they always say something along the lines of ...
Next, read the next chat from Nyafu.
Tiny whoops are boring, and I don't like them, or I want to fly a real drone, not some toy. Pisses me off. Yeah, just don't go places where people are saying that stuff. That's the easiest solution to that, because there are plenty of good places where people don't say dumb shit like that. I believe that Joshua Bardwell still thinks that a 5-inch build is the best first build. That is something that him and I have always disagreed on. He's got perfectly valid points. I've got perfectly valid points. The biggest thing for me is I just don't want somebody that doesn't know what the hell they're doing to have something that's 700 plus grams and just baby killing giant motors and props, right? In the world. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near that person. And like, FPV is one really bad accident away from, like, you know, serious issues. It's kind of unbelievable that it hasn't happened yet. And so yeah, it's not my thing, but I don't know, whatever it takes to get people hooked, I guess. You know, like having a 5-inch rig and then like having to drive to a place and then having to like be careful, like it's a whole big fucking thing. In my opinion. In other people's opinions, it's the only way to rip balls. Ugh! You know, it is what it is. But yeah, just don't go to places where morons hang out. That's the solution to all life's issues. Ryan Sadat says, what's the next funding goal? You know, I keep forgetting to change this. Let's do it now. What are we doing next? So there's going to be a big... I am going to test all of the 7-inch props, but I kind of have all of those to try to figure out which ones are best balanced. I don't know. What do you guys want to see me test next? What like new products do people want to see me test? That's how we'll do it. That's the best way of doing it. Uriel says, you did. It was on Alley. There's a green 11 under your nose. Under our nose. What on earth does that mean? Uriel also says, there's a big green 11 under your nose. Oh, yeah. That's my gray hair. I'm going gray in strange locations, and it's drawing lines on my face. Eventually it'll look cool. Striker says, how's stream going? It's going good, I guess. My friend just built an F35A. Excited to see how yours pans out. Any work on it done yet? Just what you see. That's what you said.
Cioti, are you on live chat or top chat?
Live chat. What did I miss?
We got one from Portals in from earlier. Have you looked at the Wally Eagle frame?
Hold on. Let me make sure that this is working right.
I think he might have misspelled CiottiFPV. That's why. Yeah, he added an extra I. And I catch it because I filter for Ciotti.
Right.
Only.
Yeah, there's two eyes in it. Cool. Wally Eagle frame. I feel like I've heard of it, but I can't conjure up an image of it. So we'll let the internet help us. Wally Eagle.
TubeFPV.com is what it looks like.
All right, Wally FPV
first hit
store. Yeah. We've talked about this one a bunch. So using aluminum is stupid, and nobody does it for a reason. So that's the biggest problem with this. Also, they've gone with too small of a propeller. I hope you don't already have this. If you do, yeah, I'm just being honest. This is way too small of a propeller. There's absolutely no reason to do a build like this with a 1.6 inch prop. You do this style build that's going to pick up this heavy of a VTX and camera with a 2-inch prop, because it's only like fractions of an inch bigger, all said and done. So this right here, the reason why they chose these propellers that are too small, so that they could is so that they could do this, so that they could use this word. And so we all suffer with shittier flight performance, less power, less prop selection, less efficiency, just so that they can sell more, which is just absolutely maddening, but happens all the time. So yeah, don't buy this. These metal side plates are a horrible idea, which has been tested to death in FPV over the last decade. So there's kind of no excuses for doing this, other than just, you know, they either weren't paying attention or they were doing it to make it look different, to try to sell more of them. And then just in general, a frame designed to carry a 30-gram VTX and camera has absolutely no business being on a 1.6 inch or a 1.4 inch propeller. It's just a bad idea. And the only reason that you would actually do that is so that you could say, it's the smallest, it makes us different, buy it, so that you have a terrible experience. So yeah, it doesn't make much sense. And it's a shame, really, because there aren't many little frames that carry the 04 Pro. If they'd done this with like fractionally longer arms for 2-inch propellers, it would actually fly like somewhat decent. These aluminum rails would still be stupid, but it would at least make some semblance of sense. But yeah, don't get this. And if you have it, sell it before it's not worth, before more people watch this live stream and find out that it's bad and don't want to buy it. Yeah, hope you don't have it. If you do have it, sell it, because there's better options.
Next up, Ryan asks, what's your next funding goal? Yeah, it's been on the HD0 Gamma for a while.
Yeah, I got to figure that out. So let's see what you guys are saying in chat. Jimmy Bobby says 18650 build. No, I am not into long range, and the 18650 thing is only long range. I've messed around with those cells before. Yes, I know that the new newbie drone 18650 cells are a little bit better, but it's just, no. I have no interest in a build that I can only pull 30 or 40 amps with, and those batteries are giant and they're a pain in the ass. It's just, that's not my thing. Also, like, you know, the whole like, oh, slot your 18650 into a little plastic tray, and then it's easy to remove. Yeah, well, then crash once and the battery ejects and the quad's gone forever, right? It's just, 18650s are not a good battery for anything other than long range, and I'm not the long range guy. So yeah, sorry, dude. If you want to see that, like, I get it, but it's just not my thing. I'm not gonna do stuff that I know I'm not gonna like, because then it's just like setting myself up for ragging on something. And pissing a bunch of people off that actually do enjoy long range or whatever. So yeah, stuff that that's one thing that you won't, like, you know, that's one thing that you won't get from me is like, oh, I'm just reviewing this because it's popular. if I were to do that, I'm just gonna hammer on it, and like anybody that actually would want to see that review is gonna come and get pissed off, and it's just, yeah, it's not my thing. Ryan Sadat says RC and Power 0702 31800. We need another God motor stream or the new amazing 802 25000, both of which sound incredible based on what people are saying. Again, we already have motors that make way too much power. The RC and Power 29,000 kV motor, which I have reviewed, already makes way too much power and is not efficient enough. That motor is just going to be even worse. And so, yeah, that's another example. Like, it's not a product that necessarily makes any sense. And like, I try not to, go that sensational YouTuber route of like, this is the most insane thing, because then people like just watch it and fast forward through it and they're like, oh wow, and then they go buy it and then they have a terrible experience. I try to like review good stuff that makes sense, that people are actually going to have a good experience with, as the flight test guys say all the time. Flight test guys talk about everyone's experience all the time. They must use the word experience 14 times per YouTube video. It's crazy. So yeah, and then like with 802s, the tree toppers from Weebleed are sort of like the end all be all 802. If there is an 802 that makes more power than them, it's going to make too much power. It's going to hammer the batteries too hard. Same kind of deal. 802 is a motor size that doesn't really have a great home. 1002s outperform 802s on 1.6 inch prop builds. They stay cooler, they make more power, and they're more efficient. And so, like, going with an 802 tree topper is about as good as it's going to get. Since it's a Weebleed motor, you're going to get really good efficiency from it, but since it's so high kV, you're going to get pretty decent power out of it. So, like, that's the motor. Again, like, sure, somebody's going to make a motor that makes more power than that. Well, now it's going to overheat even worse. It's only 802, right? It's not 1002. So it's going to... Those tree toppers are already at the limit. And so, yeah. And for anyone now thinking like, well, what? You don't know that. You haven't tested it. I've tested stuff for 10 years. Like, I do kind of know, because every single time a new product comes out that is stupid and insane and, is either going to make too much power or be too lightweight or whatever, more often than not, I will eventually try it, and it'll be too lightweight and too fragile, or make too much power and ruin your batteries or whatever. And so, yeah, we are at a point in FPV where there is not going to be some magical product that defies all of the knowledge that we've gained in the last decade plus. It's just not going to happen. And so but that's always like, especially when you're new to FPV, right? Like, that's the dream, is that you find that one product that like shouldn't be as good as it is, and it's like the miracle product, and you look like a genius for being the one that finds it. I've spent many years in that mindset. And early days of FPV, every once in a while, there would be that situation. Somebody would use a different magnet in a motor that performed significantly better. But those days are long gone. FPV's been around for long enough where all of the low-hanging fruit of like these magic things have been picked. And so now the gains are very difficult to get. And the gains are about picking a sensible motor with a sensible KV and pairing it really well with the exact right propeller and the exact right all-up weight. And so the products that I want to test are, in that, like, not in those extremes. Those extremes are there for companies to sell lots of product, not for us to have a good flight experience, to be completely honest. So yeah, what else you guys got though? YouTube Did the Thing says maybe a fun to test the new Lava 2 2S. The Lava 2 batteries have been a little bit of a disappointment, in that, like, the initial reviews from all of the sensational YouTubers were, oh my god, they're the greatest thing ever, they're so much better, they sag less, and they run longer, and da-da-da-da-da. And then Beta FPV sent a bunch of them to me, and they perform exactly the same as all of these other batteries. And so what I've been talking about is that the 280s, the 1S 280s, are pretty impressive. They're significantly lighter. They're a little bit better than the old 260s, which is great because you drop a gram, you do get less runtime, they do sag more, but they still fly pretty good. And flying something that's a gram less from just swapping a battery is really cool to get that flight experience of, you know, a 16 gram build all of a sudden becoming a 15 gram build. That's a dry weight, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. And so, yeah, the Lava 2 2S. Oh, well, wait, no, I have the Lava 2 2S, come to think of it. Yeah, are these what you're talking about? These perform just like every other 2S. There's, you know, same kind of deal. Battery technology, we've been using these lipos for long enough where at this point, there's not going to be a magical lipo that's, like, insane. So this is a 580. To me, it's really just a 550. There are other 2S 550s. Like, if they had made a milliamp that, like, didn't exist, right? Like, if they'd made, like, a 500 or a 600, that would be more exciting. But 580 is so close to the 550s that already exist that, like, it's, you know, this flies just like all the other 2S batteries that are roughly the same milliamp. And so, yeah, I know this is a little bit of a boring stance for me to take as somebody on YouTube, but, like, I just, you know, I'm interested in finding the stuff that performs really well rather than being a hugely popular, successful fucking YouTuber, right? Like, for me, it's about doing really good quality work, figuring out what works the best, and yeah, typically at the maturity level that FPV is now at, it's just not going to happen. And so, like, the things that we're looking for are, like, a motor that is a KV or a size that doesn't exist, but is needed, right? Like, there's a difference between, like, just making something that's different just for the sake of it being different versus making something's different that's different to fill a need, right? Making, like, a 602 motor doesn't make a lot of sense because the 702 motors are kind of perfect and we don't really, yeah. And so when a product comes out that it's like, holy shit, we don't have a propeller that's well balanced, that's this size and this pitch, like, that's awesome. That's something I'm going to jump all over. Or if an AIO comes out that there was only, like, one or two other AIOs at that amp rating, at that cell voltage that are actually in stock somewhere, right? Like, that's what becomes interesting to me, not just, you know, companies shitting out another product with a fancy label and saying, that's great, it's better, and then you actually test it and it really isn't. Hopefully that makes sense. Drublick Mike says, capacitors on the leads versus direct solder testing funding goal. I don't know how I would test that. I think I would need, like, an oscilloscope and, like, a brain that had knowledge on what oscilloscopes do.
It's testing that's been done too. The short version, you can go dig it up on YouTube, here on YouTube.
Is it Rosser that tested it?
No, actually, it's old school testing on analog, if I recall correctly. The short version is direct solder to your ASC gives the best performance and the best possibility for it to do the work that you need it to, which is the reason you run a capacitor, clean up video noise, and to clean up your gyro traces, because your motors put noise into the electrical system, right? And so the closer the capacitor is to the source of that noise, the better it's going to work. the further that the further out from that, so like on the end of your
Hi there, everyone.
your battery pigtail, the harder a time it's going to, or the less effective it's going to be at doing that job of smoothing out that noise. Does Rosser actually have a capacitor, a guide? Yes, of course he does.
No, he doesn't. But there
No?
is some good capacitor tech in this video. I just dropped this video link into the chat. In this video, he talks. He realizes that during this testing, he realizes that there are some knockoff capacitors that are like really bad, and this is important stuff. So like, I just dropped this link into the chat. There's some good tech in here. I could have sworn that Chris did test a long time ago where you put the capacitors, but I'm not finding it.
He did put out a video. I thought it was Bardwell that did it, but Rosser did just put out a video that has capacitor advice in it about which specific types of capacitors to run.
Yep, that's the one that I just put into chat. Yeah, so
okay, yeah.
That's a good one.
The short version is you need to pay real close attention to name brands of capacitors and the specific series of capacitors. You can't just rely on the name brand or the general type.
This is probably a good one here as well. Quadcopter build tip: install a capacitor on your battery lead. It is from 10 years ago and all, but yeah. So I just searched for FPV short leads capacitor. There's probably some good tech in one of these, but yeah. But yeah, Kevin nailed it. The long and short of it is that you want the capacitor to be absolutely as close to the battery pads as possible. Like, does it make a difference? Does it not make a difference? Like, even regardless if it makes a difference or not, just do that. Like a frame is going to have a spot to put a capacitor. Pick a spot that's as close as possible to the battery pads and just don't even think about it. Like, just do it. Every quad can benefit from a capacitor. So like, if you can fit a capacitor in there, do it. And then the closer you can put it to the battery lead pads on the ESC, do that. And then that's it. Like, it's like a good practice that is not going to hurt, right? Like, put like capacitors, unless you put them janky in a way that the leads break, they're not going to hurt anything. And so like, always try to put a capacitor and always try to put it as close to the battery pads. And then you did what you could, right? Like, you can't force a space for the capacitor to fit. Also, you do not need a 1000 UF capacitor on smaller builds. Smaller builds like 400, 500, I think it's like 470 is really common, and then 520 is also a really common size. But regardless, on a 5-inch big power build, 1000 UF or smaller, you don't necessarily need 1000 UF on those big builds either, but there's usually a space for one. On the smaller builds, 470 max, if not even smaller than that. Any capacitor is better than no capacitor. All that being said, I have plenty of builds where, like this build that I'm about to do, I might not put a capacitor on it. If you use a decent quality ESC and you're not running the ESC at its limit, right? This is a 3 to 6S ESC that I'm going to run on 4S. I'll be totally fine without a capacitor. If there's a spot, if there's room for one in here, I'll put one. If there's not, I won't. And it kind of is what it is. And so, yeah, if you can get one in there, great. If not, just hopefully don't run the ESC to its absolute utter limit, and you should be okay.
Another thing,
shoot,
voltage rating.
Pull my nose again. Go ahead.
Voltage rating also decides the size of the capacitor as well. So you need to run one notch higher than you need for your battery voltage, at least. So, for example, on a 6S pack, right, that's 25-ish volts fully charged. So you need to run, you don't want to run a 25 volt capacitor. You want to run the next step up, which I think is a 35 volt capacitor. A 50 is fine because in 6S, you're probably talking about a 5-inch quad, and the weight there is not, and size is not going to matter quite as much. But once you get into 3-inch, right, a 470 50 volt capacitor, you don't need the 50 volts. Go ahead and drop down to a 25 volt capacitor, and that shaves a lot of the size and weight off of that.
Yeah,
and if you need
way bigger at the higher voltages, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So just keep that in mind when you're shopping capacitors. They can be hard to find too, the exact right ones that you need. You just got to look at the series and know which series to buy. The last thing I'll say on this is you can always add a capacitor after you have gotten a build into the air and realized, oh, it's noisy, either video or in the black box or whatever. So don't feel like you got to do it immediately. Just get it in the air first and then decide whether you need to add one.
That's it. Well said, brother. Yeah, my easy rule of thumb is 35 volt capacitors are for 6S builds, 25 volt capacitors are for 4S, 3S builds. And then there is one more step down, but I have
16.
not put a capacitor on a 1 or 2S build ever. And so it's either 35 volt for 6S or 25 for 4S, 3S. That's it.
One other thing, a lot of modern ESCs come with capacitance on the board already. You'll see them in the center there. In fact, I think if we zoom in on the one that's on the desk, does that have capacitors lined up on the top, the standalone capacitors? Yeah.
Oh yeah, a whole big row. ESCs, AIOs, they're always going to have capacitors. The question is, do they have enough capacitance? The more capacitors you have, the more capacitance you have. And so this is why a lot of times you actually don't need to run one. If you do run one, that's great. It's not going to hurt anything. But yeah, a lot of times you actually don't need one. And so if there's not a good spot for like a tiny whoop build, there's just nowhere to put one. And so just don't run one and move on. They nice to have, but definitely not necessary, especially if you don't run your shit to the absolute limits of what the amp rating of the ESC can take and what the voltage rating of the ESC can take. What do 04 lights cost? Can we why I searched for one and there's not a single buy it now link. DIYFPV has them for 117.
Let's see.
I thought these were in stock. Are these not in stock? Oh, it's because I searched for light. They're just DJI 04. What a stupid naming convention. Why would they name it Get FPV 140? Okay, so this is what the fund is going to be. The fund is going to be 04 light. So 140. YouTube takes 30%. As let's just say 180. There we go. New goal, friends. An extra 04 light would be awesome for a little bit more head-to-head testing, especially within some of these open prop kind of builds. It's right now I've only got like the one electronics package that I just move from frame to frame to frame, from motor to motor to motor. It would be awesome to have a second one so that I could just head-to-head the Bando Turtle frame against the whatever Caillou Mini, for example. And so, yeah, it was Ryan Sadet's other idea. One other funding goal could be another 04 Lite or 04 Pro Toothpick. I think you haven't done a Toothpick for a super long time, and we would love to see what you come up with. The Toothpick thing, in my opinion, has kind of been killed by this style of frame. Building this instead of a Toothpick makes a lot of sense because you can top mount the battery. The camera is moved forward a little bit, so there is much less prop in view. Christ, most Toothpicks have motors in view, which I just hate. And so, yeah, this is, to me, I don't really see a lot of point in building a Toothpick anymore when there are so many frames like this that exist that will give you better flight characteristics because the battery is on top, better durability because the battery is on top, right? One of the big problems with a Toothpick is you've got that canopy in the middle on the top, so every single time you crash inverted, you just hammer the hell out of that canopy and your camera. Having the camera tucked in between the front motors and below the battery does wonders for protecting it. And so I will probably never do a Toothpick again because of these style builds. And as far as I'm concerned, like kind of good riddance. Sorry if any of you are like diehard Toothpick fans, but like if you haven't done a build like this yet, you should, because I just can't think of a single reason to build a Toothpick when stuff like this exists. Can you, Kevin? Like, what does a Toothpick do better than this? It's a little bit lighter, I guess, but like, who cares?
If you really like the float, and some people do, if you really like the float, then do a Toothpick build. That's really the only reason to run one I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, but like these, especially on the 2.5-inch props, and you can probably get a 3-inch prop version of this. It'll give you almost the same amount. Yeah, I mean, if you're desperate for just all the float in the world, but I think you'll dig these builds, Toothpick fans. Toothpick fans! It's 2026. Come with us. Come see the light. Front-mounted camera, top-mounted battery. We have cookies.
It's a night.
Okay. Where we at in chat here?
You're at Uriel 1041.
Come on, world. There we go. Ryan says the new 31800 is apparently only 1.15 grams and 10 to 20% more efficient. What's that, a battery? 31800?
No, that's the KV, the motor KV from the earlier conversation.
I gotcha. So if it's 10 to 20% more efficient, then that would put its efficiency level with all the other motors. So that's great, but it's still too high of a KV. An RC and Power 31800 is just, it's going to make way too much power. Like for a hardcore racer, like top 20 tiny whoop racers in the world, by all means. But for the rest of us, it's just going to hurt your batteries. And it's not a motor that you're going to keep on there. It makes no sense. It's a motor that legitimately makes no sense other than for the god tier racers. And so, yeah, I'm just not interested in it. Sorry guys. I've tested motors that are even more powerful than that. It's funny for like one battery, and then you're like, okay, now what? And you just take it off. And so like, $40-50 for like one funny battery, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We already have plenty of motors that will accomplish that same thing. The RC and Power 29000s, for example, the Newbie Drone Hummingbird 30000s, the really high KV Beta FPVs, they'll all accomplish that. So if you're desperate for that one battery's worth of laughing, we're good. We got that covered. Uriel says, for your fam, seeing invitation as Kevin, ask him or come together. I sleep outside at the fire log.
That's Uriel just being a bro. He's
classic.
Yeah, he wants us to come to the Netherlands and come hang out.
Nyafu says, opinion on AOS motors. They are extremely coggy and extremely aggressive. And so you end up with problems like too high of a hover point, and there's the potential of excess electrical noise coming back into the system. There are other options for all of their motors that don't cause all these problems. And so from a standpoint of like, I'm building a missile drone to go 500 miles an hour, I totally get it. The AOS motors are the way to go. Like if you're trying to absolutely push the limits of what's possible, their motors are going to do that because they are so extreme. If you're just trying to fly and have a good time, you're going to have too low of a hover point. You're going to have excess electrical noise. The super cogginess of the motors is going to potentially cause more jello and other issues. And so it's just kind of not worth it. They're made by RC and Power, I believe, so they'll be good quality, but like they're just kind of too extreme. They're, in the motorsport world, you know, you take like your stock car and then you want to make it faster, and there are mods. There are like bolt-on mods. There are like, oh my god, this is fucking awful. Ugh! There are mods that like take a stock car and make it faster, and then there are these like super extreme mods that make it even faster, but they suck. They make it like way less drivable, way louder, and it's like so common that people will skip that middle step and go, ah! Go to the super extreme stuff and then regret it, and then go all the way back to stock or back to that one step up kind of level. And so yeah, that's my opinion on AIS motors. I've heard great things and have had great experience only with the 3220 so far, but I've also heard people say they're fragile, experience, etc. Yeah, I've also heard that they're not super durable, which is kind of annoying. Ooh, so my god, dude.
I used to run Rosser's frames. I haven't run any of his motors, but my experience with those is that they're built like a Formula One car. They are intended to go fast and super well tuned, but there are some. I have had issues with some fragility in the frames. I wouldn't be surprised if the motors are built the same way. So they're definitely good at a thing. They're just not good at a thing that if you're bashing a quad, necessarily they're going to be the, you know, they're not designed exactly for that.
Yeah, when you make something that's that extreme, it's like there's always going to be impacts, right? Like there's no free lunches. And boy, did he design his motors to be extreme. And so it makes sense, right? It totally makes sense. But for somebody that is trying to rip more balls than someone else, I guess maybe that'll be the difference. But no, don't do that. Durability is so important. Having something that's like easy to live with, easy to tune, and that you don't have to like jump through all these hoops just to get it working. That, you know, that's gonna give you a much better experience. Let's see how many times I can use experience tonight.
That said, when I blow through the rest of my mound of F1404 motors on my 3-inch, I'm going to give some AOS motors a try.
There you go. We will hear straight from Kevin how annoying
it'll take a year. It'll take a year.
The Tom says, why would you buy an AIO with no black box, HD0 Gamma? There aren't many options. Previous to this one, so that AIO is for my frame with the 04 setup on it, and I tried the Tune RC Poly in here, Poly F405, that everybody says is the greatest AIO ever, and on like the 4th or 5th battery, it caught on fire. So at that point, go try to find an AIO that has ELRS on board, is 2S to 5S or 2S to 6S, and is by a somewhat reputable company.
Don't forget the Beck for your digital VTX.
Right. It also has to be an HD.
Needs a juicy Beck.
Yep. And so it's super hard to find. They exist, but trying to find them in stock is impossible. And so it is super annoying that the HD0 Gamma does not have black box. But to be honest, I have been not using black box for literally a decade, and it's been totally fine. I've been able to book hundreds of professional gigs. I've been able to build a YouTube channel here. Everything's been okay. Black box is really nice to have, don't get me wrong, but it is in no way, shape, or form a necessity. If there's ever a flight controller or AIO that is durable, is in stock, and like makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't have black box, just get it. You'll be totally fine. Tuning without black box is fairly easy. You've got a lot of feedback that the quad is giving you audibly, and from the amount of motor heat. And so, yeah, black box is by no means a necessity. So many of us, I mean, it didn't even exist in the early days of FPV, and you know, we were totally fine. So yeah, really nice to have, but definitely not a necessity.
Also,
Aaron Lovato says, you're going to fly tonight. For sure. It is a 6 battery live stream, so we are going to do a little tiny move. Go ahead, Kevin.
on the no black box, you can always go grab an open logger, and on the size builds that we're talking about, we're not talking about tiny whoops. On the size builds that we're talking about, you can just throw an open logger on it for the time that you need to tune it, and then take the open logger back off when you're done. Or just leave it on there, and it's $15 extra, right? I think Flywoo has one, is the one that I just pulled up for $15.
Yep. Yeah, there's a couple of them out there. Nyafu says, what do you think are some of the things we need in FPV that are missing? 0902, more research into plugs, higher power AIO VTXs. Better propellers, more propeller options for sure. It's super annoying that like in some of these prop sizes, there's like one propeller that is a proper pitch that's durable. That's just silly. That's the biggest thing, to be honest, is more propellers, more properly balanced propellers that are durable. Motors were pretty good on 702s, and then up to 1002s, and then up to 1202 and a halves as you work your way up from like 1.2 inch props, 1.6 inch props, 2 inch props, and then like 1404s, and then maybe some more motor options for like 3.5 inch props, but like 3.5 inch props are tough. I'm looking forward to spending some time on a really heavy 3.5 inch prop setup here. But yeah, I mean, we're in a really good spot, to be honest. A lot of so much R&D has gone into FPV over the last 10 years by this community. And we're in a good spot. The hard thing right now is that nothing's in stock. And so actually that would be the biggest thing. If we could stop making new products for a minute and just get the shit that already exists in stock. Like, let's all just stop shitting out new products and focus on how do we keep this shit in stock around the world so that we can actually buy, so that maybe we have two options, right? Like, stop making new products when your old shit's not in stock, and like when we need something, there's only one option. How about like 2 options or 3 options? Like, get your shit together. So yeah, that would be my main one. How about you, Kevin? Jesus Christ, this is crazy.
Honestly, I still feel like the high KV treatment needs to happen for like the middle micro range, the like 2.5, 3 inch kind of range. Like the highest KV for 3 inch, right? Because I fly 3 inch the most these days. The highest KV that I can get my hands on is a 4600 1404. That's the size I need. But 4600, and still I feel like I could use a little more KV, probably another 10% on top of that. And then there's also a little bit of a size gap in there. Like I'd like to see some more 1505 or 1405 or maybe 1605 type size motors. They had them for a while and they got dropped.
Oh God. Holy hand grenades, Batman. Kevin, you are absolutely right. Higher KV 1404s would be really nice. Emax has a 6000 KV, but it's a little fragile.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. And then you're right too. We need 1604s again. T-Motor discontinued their 1604, which blows. 1605s is starting to get a little like big, but it would still really be nice. Yeah, good call, dude. Good
1605 is also kind of in the lighter weight 3.5 inch kind of range.
Yep.
Ryan just pointed out that Deep Space makes an awesome 1505. So I heard this weekend that Deep Space is a joint venture between T Hobby and
nice
the other guys with the A that make motors. Axis, yeah.
No shit. Okay.
Unconfirmed at this point, but that is the rumor. And if that's true, they both make good motors.
Yeah, Axis is a company that formed from people that left T-Motor.
Yeah.
So that would make a lot of sense that they'd be working together. That's pretty slick. Good for them. That's really cool. Ryan Sidat says, to be fair, bigger lipos have made maybe more progress in the past couple years. Tattoo R-Line 6.0 and SMC 6S batteries have been mind-blowingly good. Yeah, there have been some improvements in lipos, especially with 5-inch rigs. But it's so hard. It's so hard to test lipos in a way that actually mimics like the way that we fly. It's so much just like, oh, this feels better. Like, for the record, when somebody says this feels better, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Like they just spent a bunch of money on it, so like their brain's gonna be like, yeah, this better feel better, or you're an idiot and you wasted your money. So there's that, but like the biggest thing is that it's incredibly difficult to feel the difference between this stuff, as Joshua and I have proven in the past. And so, like, if one of the 20 best pilots in the world says, like, this feels different, I give it different. I give it a little bit of weight, but, like, if anybody other than that, like, super, super, super dialed in group of pilots says it, it's just confirmation bias. It's just, or they're trying to sell you something, right? If there's an affiliate link in the description, I'm just like, yeah, okay, great. Doesn't mean anything to me anymore. But yeah, Ryan also says, you think some sub 250G bind and fly companies should invest in titanium hardware production like Beta FPV did with Peak screws? I do. I would love for some inexpensive, decent quality M2 titanium hardware. I don't think it's a possibility. I think that if that was a possibility, somebody would have already done it. Because titanium is not like a new thing, right? Like titanium is a known like material that is expensive. And so in order to make it less expensive, you have to mix the titanium with some other cheaper metal, and then the quality goes to hell. And so I think that the good quality titanium hardware that's out there that's prohibitively expensive, I think that's what it would kind of cost. Maybe if Beta FPV ordered 10 million M2x7 screws, they could get the price down a little bit, but I don't think they're going to get it down very much. I think it's going to be, almost $1 a screw, almost regardless, if it's good quality titanium. The RC car world has titanium hardware in M2 and M3, and it's mega expensive, but it's out there, and like that, the RC cars are a way more popular hobby than FPV, and so that says to me that like if there was a way for it to be less expensive, they would have already figured it out, right? So I think titanium hardware is really cool in theory, but no matter what, I think it's going to be really expensive to get it as not an alloy that's like 5% titanium and 95% aluminum or whatever, in which case it'll just strip out like aluminum. So yeah, it would be nice, but I don't necessarily think that it's realistic. But if anybody can find good quality M2 or M3 hardware out there for not like approaching $1 a screw, by all means drop it in our Discord, because here's the other thing too. The screws that we're running are fairly short, and so the difference in weight between steel and titanium is very little. And so we end up spending $10-20 per quad on titanium hardware in order to save like 2 grams total. And that makes no sense. Like that is not a good way of spending that amount of money. You can put that money into like an extra battery or like any number of other things to get a much better result. Titanium is a little bit stronger than steel, but it's also more brittle. And so you're not even really getting a performance advantage from it. You could actually argue that you're getting a performance disadvantage from it because steel will bend, but still stay together, titanium will snap because it's brittle. And I would much rather have the screw that holds my top plate on bend crazy rather than snap and have the battery and the top plate eject, unplug the quad, and lose the whole quad. So titanium is tough. It's titanium screws. If you're going to be safe, you're going to put those in the non-super load-bearing locations. At that point, you can just do what Impulse RC always did, which was to use aluminum screws in those not super high-stress areas. And aluminum is actually even lighter than titanium. So titanium falls in this weird like middle ground where it's not as durable as steel. And I use the word durable on purpose here. It's stronger, but I don't think it's more durable, right? Because of how brittle it is. And so it's not as durable as steel, but then it's not as light as aluminum either. And it costs a fortune. And so it's like, well, shit, that's a pretty specific usage. I think that's why, because like, I feel like titanium hardware would be a quick like marketing win for a frame company or a motor manufacturer. Like, includes titanium hardware. Oh, that's why we're charging $5 more for this motor. I feel like if it really did make sense, that it would have already been done at this point. And it has been done. The Brother Hobby VY line of motors came with titanium hardware. That VY line disappeared. They were more expensive motors, and I think people didn't buy them because they were more expensive than all the other motors. And like, yeah, great, you paid an extra $4 for this motor and you saved 0.2 of a gram on the rotating assembly. It's not nothing, but it's not enough. Hopefully that makes sense. It's not enough of an improvement.
Trades and I were talking about hardware the other night,
Nice.
and what we both want to see: titanium standoffs, because those aluminum standoffs that everybody has to run, those strip so bad.
Yep, that would be cool. It has to exist.
We have been looking. Well, if anybody
Really?
in chat knows, post them up. But M3 standoffs, 20 mils, and 20 mil especially.
So we call them standoffs. What I doubt that they're, well, okay, no. Here's 1/8 inch plain titanium standoff. So here's TI connector calling them standoffs. Maybe they are called standoffs.
There's technically threaded standoffs, and you can find unthreaded ones, and you can find threaded ones in larger bolts. Finding M3 titanium standoffs.
Weird. I would totally think that would exist, but it weirdly also doesn't surprise me. So here, Super G is a RC drift car company.
Ooh.
These are interesting. They put the slot there. That's actually really smart to put a slot in the top. These are not really lengths that we would be able to use, from 4mm to 12, and these are also threaded on one. It looks like you can get them female. But yeah, that's wild that they're not that they're so hard to find.
For his racing frame, he's looking to go to M4 steel standoffs.
M4, oh boy, steel standoffs are so heavy. Holy shit! But M4 and steel, they're going to be indestructible. That's cool.
Yeah, and if you're trying to make a race, right?
Yeah, totally. Wow, that's wild. Titanium standoffs, super hard to find. I'll be damned. I wonder why. In theory, there has to be a reason, right?
I'm sure that you can find somebody that will make them for you or already has them to order. They're just a super niche part.
Right.
And super niche means real expensive.
Yeah, the aluminum standoffs suck. My God, they are not difficult to blow up.
WT Flip FPV just asked, how often do you bend a standoff? In the crashes that I have had that have not broken arms and have instead caused problems with screws or whatever, I will bend steel screws, and if the steel screw bends, it strips the aluminum standoff every time.
Yeah,
that's usually on
pretty much.
5 inch.
Yeah, pretty much every like really hard hit is gonna grenade at least one standoff. Um, it's actually funny to think though, a titanium standoff would be heavier because aluminum is so lightweight. So it would actually be you'd pay more money to gain weight, but you would gain a significant amount of durability. Yep. Interesting. Quadmula uses fancy standoffs, but I'm pretty sure they are aluminum. Yeah, they're 70-75 aluminum.
Which is good.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing it for weight.
Ones.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't be surprised if a big part of that is just to keep the weight down, because the standoff is a big chunk of metal, right? 20 millimeters, 25 millimeters long, and there's going to be 6 of them or 8 of them, or you know. That would be cool to see. I'm truly shocked that we can't just type in titanium M3 standoff into Google and it's like, here's 4 websites. They're $18 each, but like here you go. That's crazy. Drublic Mike says, Kevin Ciotti, thank you. I'll go down the rabbit hole. Mitch says, would there need to be tune changes when changing from the 31 millimeter 0.9 pitch ultralights to the 1.1 pitch? Nope. As long as the balance, as long as you don't go from a propeller that is well balanced to one that's not well balanced, you will never really have to change the tune. I guess unless you went from like a 0.5 pitch to like a 5 pitch or something like that, you might need to. But needing to change a tune for propellers 99% of the time is only because you went from either balanced to unbalanced or unbalanced to balanced. And so, yeah, you'll be totally fine. Sear says the testing included various lengths of cap leads to the battery pads, not Rosser or JB. Well, who? Tell us who. Who is it, Sear? Oh, here you go. He says, I'll check my saved videos after the stream and drop in Discord when I find it. Awesome. Thank you, dude. Like Kevin said, it was an old video, so I'll take a minute. I know I have it saved. Love it. The power of the community. YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up.
23:15, Ryan. Sorry, 11:15 for you. 12-hour.
I don't have the time. I still don't have the timestamps.
Yeah, I have to toggle it every time.
Give me the timestamps. It's so annoying.
Oh, there's an option for that.
Where? At the top?
It's in there.
That's right. Yeah, I couldn't find it the one day. Remember? We looked and looked and looked after the live stream. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, you must have turned it off because it's hide timestamp is the option. It's under message visibility.
Yeah, right. I found it. It didn't change anything. Remember? I turned it on and off. It didn't add them. I found it then. Anyway, we're good. Drublic Mike says, what if I send you a build with an 04 light that I don't need? Better come up with a next funding goal. If you were to do that, yeah, we would change the fund again. I'm not going to say no to that. Ryan Sadat says, very cool of you, Mike. Thank you, dude. Ryan Sadat says, do you have a 5-inch freestyle build together right now? And if so, what are your parts? If you were to build one up today for whatever reason, do you have a motor /stack /frame combo you'd use? That is a half-hour conversation. I have many 5-inch freestyle builds. Each one is kind of designed for a specific kind of thing. Some are super lightweight, some are a little bit heavier, some are for freestyle, some are for cinematic. Some have big motors, some have smaller motors. Yeah, a lot of different options. If I had to do one right now, it's hard because at the moment I actually don't like the way that 5-inch freestyle rigs fly, to be completely honest. And I don't like that I have to drive relatively far for a safe spot to fly them. It's just there's a lot of pain in the ass things associated with 5-inch freestyle rigs, and I've flown thousands and thousands and thousands of batteries over the year with them, and so like the novelty of like hammering full throttle and just hurtling to the heavens the way that 5-inch rigs do is gone. Like there is no novelty left for 5-inch. It's just a giant scary pain in the ass thing. And so I don't really think much about 5-inch freestyle builds. But all that being said, I like them when they're on the lighter side. Like I like them to be around 600 grams all up weight. I like 2306 motors, 1800-ish kV, 6S for sure. And then, you know, video system is a fairly personal decision there. Every frame that comes out is a little bit better than the ones previously, and so like at this point, pretty much all of the frames are really, really good. What else? I run 1050 kV 6S batteries. Most people run heavier batteries than that, but then the weight goes to 650 and 700.
You said
pretty
KV,
quickly.
you meant mAh.
Say again.
You said KV, you meant mAh.
Yes.
1050 mAh.
Yep. So yeah, that's at the moment I'm not really the guy to ask about 5-inch freestyle because it's just I'm not spending much time thinking about it flying. I'm not spending any time flying it. I flew it at Sloss and it didn't feel right at all. The area that we were flying in was small enough that the 5-inch build felt way too big with way too much power to weight ratio. And it was not the right tool for the job there. It's the right tool for a football field or another like massive space. It feels good there. But I don't fly those spots very much anymore. So yeah, it's interesting. It's totally fun. It's an experience that all FPV pilots should have at some point, because it shrinks the world around you. So yeah, folks that live in like wide open spaces, it's absolutely perfect for that. But yeah, it's not like the end all be all. There's so many people that treat 5-inch as like the only thing, and that sucks for those people because they're missing out on so much of the FPV hobby just by like being, you know, entrenched in like, no, steel flies 5-inch. It's, you know, calm the fuck down. You're not steel. You never will be. It's okay. So yeah.
Quick time check. It's 11:30.
Holy shit on a shingle. Let me rip through these as quick as I can. Ryan Sadat says, I don't think T-Hobby discontinued the 1604. It's still on sale. Just bought a set with a bind and fly that uses them. It's the Nexa 3.5 Evo Pro. I love that. I was sad to see them go out of stock everywhere. I guess it must just be that no American shops are stocking them anymore, which doesn't surprise me. It's a fairly specific motor. Ryan also said, couldn't you compare batteries by flying them on the same build, i.e. do a 5-second punch out, measure the voltage, sag, flight time, flying a set path repeatedly, etc. You could, if you have a spot to fly where you can be making that much noise. But yeah, I'm not the 5-inch freestyle guy anymore. Maybe there's somebody out there that's done it, but I don't tend to see many people doing actual testing anymore. They just fly and then scream ripping balls and then post their shit online, and you're like, what were you even flying, bro? And they have their stupid list of affiliate links in the description, and then they don't reply to you, and then it's, you know, so yeah. Jimmy Bobby says, although not 2 to 6S, but 2 to 4S. What's that in reference to? Jimmy Bobby also says, happy model, crazy F411. Yeah, 2 to 4S. A 2 to 4S AIO running it on 4S is not a great idea. The Tune RC Poly F405 is regarded as the best 2 to 4S AIO, and even that caught on fire in pretty short order. So yeah, AIOs are already like kind of a pain in the ass. Putting your ESC and your flight controller on the same board is a pretty bad idea. There's good reason that for many, many, many years in FPV, we had a separate ESC and a separate flight controller, and we still do, right? Like all of the big power builds run that setup. It makes a lot of sense. The ESC has a lot of electrical noise. And so keep all that electrical noise the fuck away from your gyro, right? To do one board with all of that stuff on it is a pain in the ass. And also, AIOs being as big as they are doesn't really work for the way that these frames are set up, right? Like this is a 20 by 20 AIO and it fits perfectly. the thickness of the base plate is perfectly suited for something that's 20 by 20. To go any bigger than this, you've got a skinny base plate and then a big wide board on there that's fragile as hell, right? So every time you go crashing through branches and shit, all those branches are going to try to break the PCB, rip your motor wires off, all kinds of stuff. It's just like, it's cool that the AIOs give us a little bit more stack height, but there are a number of annoyances to AIOs. It's kind of a wonder that they work at all. But yeah, if at all possible, always go separate ESC, separate flight controller. Ryan says, from what I know, ITZY is the only manufacturer that ships bind and flies with all titanium hardware. I didn't realize that. That's pretty cool. Would love to know where they source it. Their ITZY Evo 6S sub 250 3.5 inch uses all TI screws. That's pretty cool. I wish they could keep some of their stuff in stock. I would love to buy some of their products, but yeah, everything's out of stock, as with all of FPV, unfortunately. Ryan Sadat says, I think titanium is more realistic on 3.5 inch and below. The amount of torque we put into our 5-inch hardware probably wouldn't survive if it were anything other than stainless steel. Apparently good quality titanium M3 is okay. But yeah, it is true that we be cranking some screws down on bigger stuff. Nafu says, do you think 5-inch motors or 0702 motors are more developed? Are micro under 3-inch or 5-inch batteries more developed? The Lava 2 seems like a big leap. I disagree. I don't think the Lava 2 was a big leap at all. I think it was a lot of hype. That's just my experience having flown them. The 280s are awesome, but the rest, I haven't seen much, if any, difference. 5-inch motors will always be the most developed. 90% of the R&D cycle in FPV has been with 5-inch. So there's no question that 2207, 2306, 2307, those motor sizes are light years ahead of all other motor sizes combined. 0702s have had some decent development over the past couple of years, but it's absolutely no contest. But the motor manufacturers in the development cycle of outboard brushless motors have learned a ton that they've been able to just drop into the 702 motor size. So like the 702s that we have are probably like 90% as good as they'll ever be because of all the lessons that these companies have learned from 5-inch motors. But yeah, and then like 1404, 3-inch, 2-inch, those motors, same kind of deal. They've benefited from everything that have been learned from the bigger motors. Nyafu also says, what happened to silver/gold wound motors? Last I remember, T-motor, silver wound motor, Rosser tested. Conclusion was something with overheating. Yeah, it's tiny little percentages of performance improvement, but it's like, it's better at this one thing, but it's not good at this other thing. And so, again, hype train stuff. Oh, silver windings, 1% more efficient. But then, there's something else that they don't do as good. So yeah, if silver or gold wound motors were actually like legitimately better and not just prohibitively expensive and like 1% better, then everybody would be doing it, right? And so the fact that we don't see it anymore is, to me, like a perfect example of like, hey, it wasn't God's gift to motor windings. RC Thrills says, why do double gyro on 5-inch? The only reason to do double gyro is that eventually if one of the gyros fails, you can swap to the other one. And gyros failing is something that happens. So it's just for redundancy. There is absolutely no reason to run them both at the same time. We've been down that road in FPV many times. That was yet another massive hype train thing that didn't pan out in the real world. It was just manufacturers saying, this is the greatest thing ever. You're going to love the flight performance. And then, a bunch of people tested it and said, oh my God, buy it. It's the greatest thing ever. And then the people that actually know something tested it and went, no, it's not. It doesn't do anything. What's wrong with you? FPV in a nutshell. RZ Thrill says, Google's Answer to why not use titanium standoffs.
It's down below.
Oh.
It says high cost.
Expensive.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there it is. That's awesome. Way to go, Google. Nyafu says, are high KV lipos the next big thing in FPV? Oh, I wish. Current batteries are a whopping 0 kV, which is unacceptable. Makes me sad. All this shrimp being sacrificed to wrap 0 kV batteries.
I know.
As I get older, the wrong word comes out of my mouth, and I don't realize it at all. It's something that's insane about getting old. Patches Smoke Wounded Snipers in the house. What's up, brother? How are you? And then Nafu says, what is the acceptable question per stream ratio? I'm gonna say 6. But if the chat is dead, then ask away. All right, let's do a little bit of soldering over here. Actually, let me, Kevin, do you have something you can say for 60 seconds? I'll take that as a yes. Blow my nose.
Yeah. So let's see. A Weaver in chat recommended TI connector. I went and dove down the rabbit hole for titanium hardware there. Looks like they have standoffs, titanium standoffs. They are not the correct size, unfortunately. So the search continues. Although knowing that is it Quadmula? Yeah, Quadmula actually sells good quality aluminum standoffs in M3 and in reasonable sizes is kind of a game changer. They brand them, which I don't love, but okay, fine. They also only go to 20. So if you're doing a slammed build, like I have one build that is slammed to 17, and I have another build that is slammed to 15 on 3-inch, and I'd have to break out the old hacksaw. I would, yeah. So yeah, hardware. It's one of those things. I didn't think that getting into FPV, I would have to think so damn hard about screws.
Yeah.
Really, that's where we are in 2026.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good problem to have. It means that we're pretty well optimized and that, we're going down the right path. But yeah, at some point, like, we have to stop ourselves and be like, okay, we're spending too much time and effort and money to save 2 grams on a 600 gram build, and titanium hardware it might be there, right? That might be the point where it's like, nope, this is like super diminishing returns. We're not gaining enough from this amount of money. Let's take that money and buy an extra battery. That's going to be way more valuable. That point's going to be different for everyone, but I think it's important to not get too carried away with stuff like that. Much easier said than done. This is the SirenA. We're going to do a little bit of soldering. Soldering iron is on 700 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a little bit hot, but if you're quick, it's totally fine, and you can literally get your work done quicker by running it a little bit hotter. If you're a beginner, maybe don't go quite that high. Maybe do like 650, 660. That's plenty. That'll give you a little bit more time. But if you follow the fundamentals that I'm about to hit you with, you'll be able to get the job done cleanly and quickly. You need magnification, even on bigger builds. This is Yakto Soon head-mounted magnifiers. You can get these for like $20 on eBay. Just type in like head-mounted magnifier. It makes a huge difference in your work. You're going to need a flux paste syringe. This is one of the best things that you can get. We've got a bunch of pads that are not tinned yet, so we're going to put a little bit of flux paste on all of these pads. The solder has flux in it, but it doesn't have enough. And in 99% of situations, there's no such thing as too much flux. I'm going to take my soldering iron out of the stand, and I'm going to clean it. I'm not going to clean it when I put it back in the stand. If you put the tip of the soldering iron away dirty, it actually protects the tip. And so you clean it when you take it out of the stand. When you're done working, you put it back in the stand dirty. And then you try your best not to leave it on all night. we are going to tin these pads. What that means is that we cover up all of the copper gold with solder so that we don't have to add solder when we're connecting the wire to the pad. I'm going to hold this soldering iron as flat to the table as I can. The pad is like this. If I bring the soldering iron in like this, I don't have much of a contact patch. It's not going to transfer heat very quickly. And so by putting my hand flat on the desk, I'm trying to put the flat spot of the tip of the soldering iron flat on the pad. The more contact area, the quicker you're going to transfer the heat, and that is important. So what I do is I put this like bladed part of my hand down flat on the table and then hold the soldering iron like this, and then I can bring it in at a nice low angle. We've got flux on the pads. I've got my solder in my left hand here. I'm going to pull a little bit more of it out here. I'm going to put the tip of the soldering iron as flat on the pad as I can, and then I'm going to push the solder in between the pad and the tip of the iron. Next one, same deal. Make sure the whole pad gets covered with solder. There we go. As quick as we can. We want to put temperature into these and then get the temperature off of there. And that's all there is to it. These pads are now tinned. The next thing that I would tin if these wires hadn't come off of another rig is I would tin the tips of the wire itself after I stripped it. But this was a set of motors that was on another build, so they already have solder left on them, so that's totally fine. The way that I like to do these wires to make them as durable as possible when you're crashing through trees is to put the outside wires at a 90-degree angle and then the insides at a 45-degree, and then I push them down. I'm trying to get as clean of a profile as possible for this thing. For when branches are trying to rip all this stuff to shreds, I want it to be as sort of smooth as possible. If you've got these wires coming straight out and then making an angle over here, they're going to take a lot of punishment. So try to get your wires nice and clean, 45-degree angle on the middle 4, 90-degree angle if the ESC support is laid out in a way that supports it on the left and right. And so that's what we're going to do here. You've got 6 wires here. You want to do these in an order that you're not having to cross the soldering iron over the one that you just did. So typically what I'll do is outside, the one right next to it, the one right next to it, and then outside, the one next to it, and the one next to it. Usually you can move the work around in a way that you don't have to cross your soldering iron over another wire that you just did. And so in this example, what I'm going to do is pull all 3 of these wires. I'm going to get them out of the way. Keep these out of the way. And then I'm going to take this outside wire and I'm going to do it first. My offhand is going to use sharp-tipped, fine-tipped tweezers. We don't need the solder anymore. And so my offhand's job is to hold the wire in the exact right position. My dominant hand's job is to bring the heat in. That's it. Try not to use the soldering iron to move the wire around. And so I'm going to take my time in getting this wire into the perfect spot, and then I'm going to take the soldering iron out of the stand, clean it. The wire just moved, so I'm going to get it back in the perfect position again. And now all I'm going to do is bring the heat in. The wire has a bunch of solder on it. The pad has a bunch of solder on it. Once the heat hits the wire. All right, so it's not transferring heat to the wire. The reason why is the tip of the soldering iron is like this, but the wire is round. And so the round wire has the tiniest little contact patch, and that itty-bitty little contact patch is not going to transfer heat quickly. So what I'm going to do is tin the tip of the soldering iron. I'm going to touch the tip of the soldering iron to the solder to melt a little blob onto here, so that with that little molten blob, I'm going to then touch it to the rounded wire, and that blob is going to encase the wire and transfer the heat really quickly. So we take our little loop of solder, we put it next to our work. We grab our tweezers again. We do all the same stuff. Get the wire into the perfect position. And that's about right. Soldering iron out of the stand. We're going to clean it again. And then we're going to come over here. We're just going to touch it to the tip of the solder. Now we've got the tip tinned. And now it's going to transfer the heat a million times quicker. Push down a little bit to flatten out the wires on the pad. Make sure it's exactly where you want it. And then take the heat away and do not move. Do not move for a couple seconds. You can see the solder solidify. Don't blow on it. Just stay still. Now I'm going to take the next wire. I'm going to get it at a 45-degree angle. I don't need to clean the tip if I'm quick here. And so I'm just going to hold it with my finger and get it just right. That's exactly where I want it, 45-degree angle. The tip is still tinned a little bit, so it transferred the heat real quick. Push down a little bit to flatten the wires out. Stay nice and still. Last one. Get it where you want it. If you're doing this with your fingers, if you're quick, you won't burn yourself, but you will burn yourself. And you'll burn yourself when you're trying to hold it still. And so using something that's not your fingers is typically a really good idea. And so here we go with the last one. If you're quick, you don't have to clean the soldering iron in between 3 pads like this. But after these 3 pads, I am going to put the soldering iron into the stand. And then when I take it back out of the stand, I am going to clean it. This wire did not sit flat on the pad. It did not sit flat enough for me on the pad. And that does matter to me. The first 2 on the left are nice and flat to the pad. It's just the wire that's sticking up on this one. So the wires are nice and flat on the pads themselves. The third one, as you can see, is not. The reason why that matters is that when you break an arm, the arm is here, you break it, and it pulls on those wires. So first of all, you should have enough slack on those wires so that it doesn't actually pull on them. But if it really breaks bad, it is going to pull on those wires. The pads on the ESC are just glued. The PCB is here, there's a layer of glue, and then there's the pad. So if you want to rip that pad off, you would do it like a Band-Aid. You would peel it off like that, right? If your wire is sitting up really high on that pad and it gets pulled, that's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to peel that pad right the hell off. If your wire is flat on that pad and it gets pulled, it's going to try to pull the pad off sideways where it's really strong. It might still pull it, but it's going to give it the best possible chance of not getting pulled, the flatter that you can get the wire. It can be a little bit hard to do, especially if you put too much. In this case, there was too much solder on the wires themselves. So there was a big ball of solder on the end of the wires. And then the pad was tinned as well. And so we've got excess solder on both. And then I'm holding the wire with the tweezers. And so the wire doesn't drop down enough. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold the wire with the tweezers. I'm going to push down on the wire with the soldering iron to get it flat on the pad. I'm going to let go with the tweezers. I'm going to hold the wire down with the tip of the soldering iron, and then I'm going to re-grab the wire because I need to be able to remove the soldering iron and let that cool down. And so that's what I'm about to do. It's a little bit harder to do that. It's a much better bet to just not have too much wire, not have too much solder on the wires, not have too much solder on the pad. Cool. So this is not necessarily the right way of doing it, but you're going to have to do this because when we do this work fast, this is just something that happens. So get good at doing this. This is actually like a little bit difficult to do. And so this is going to take some trial and error to kind of get, because you're going to go to hold the wire down and it's going to move. That's the hardest part of doing this. I'm going to try to, I'm going to tin the tip of the soldering iron here.
While you're working, want some chat comments.
Yeah, shoot.
Jimmy the Cow says, moo.
He does indeed.
CMYK says, dwell for us, daddy.
What's up, brother?
Nafu says, I had to de-shell a shrimp today to wrap my receiver. I need the synthetic shrimp wrap you guys have in America here. The things we do to save to those poor shrimp. Hashtag save the shrimp.
See, everybody thought I was kidding, but now there's someone in Asia confirming that it's a real thing. So fuck you all that doubted me. To do this wire on this side, I'm going to do it like this, but then I'm going to move the work. Move the work. Don't move yourself. If your hand is like all jacked up around, don't do that. Move the work to you instead of moving yourself to the work. Actually, what I'm going to do is go like this because I want to be able to hold the wire here and then bring the soldering iron in like that.
The Brandonist of Beans says dual gyros didn't work well in beta flight because no one could get the sensor fusion code working well. The thing Ciotti said about picking the cleanest one or having a backup.
Sweet. Sensor fusion is what they call it.
Sensor fusion. Yeah. Sensor fusion is being worked on, I think, in beta flight right now for the autonomous stuff like loiter, return to home, etc.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because you need it for figuring out your heading.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, INAV's code there is a lot more mature, but anyhow.
Interesting. That autonomous shit is wild stuff.
Yeah. Stryker says, Ciotti, what I tend to do is 90 degrees on all of them and around the standoffs. I actually do that too, Stryker. Makes things a lot more self-contained and less out there. So what he's talking about, Ciotti, I don't know if you can visualize it, but actually running
laying the wires up on top of each other like that, right?
And behind the standoffs, running them around behind the standoffs.
Yep.
Because it that actually reduces the strain on the pads directly and puts some of that force. If you do have an arm that tears off, put some of that force on the excuse me, the standoff itself and the pad. It spreads the load between the two.
Yep.
And
totally.
you're more likely to rip a pad off of the race wire instead of off your ASC.
Yep. That is kind of my second favorite way of doing it. I don't do that because it is a lot less serviceable, right? Like you kind of have to take the flight controller off, to get at that, and like in the field that just blows. Also, it makes the you can't slam the stack as tight. It's a totally fine way of doing it. I've had really good luck with doing it this way, and so this has the least sort of negatives, I guess we could.
I don't bring them up under the ESC after going around the standoff. They just go around the standoff and then come back up
on the top, right?
Just not even necessarily over the top. Like still around the outside, like you got there, just
so
around and off first.
You're doing it like that, basically, right?
Not around the stack screw.
Oh,
around the standoff.
So
around the standoff.
You're doing it like that.
You don't have your screen shared, so I'm working 8 seconds behind. But
God damn it, I forgot to.
It's okay. No, the 20 mil standoff that the base plate is screwed into.
Why did it stream ended Mac low disk space? What? It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to share my screen. Say that one more time. So wait, up. So that you mean like that then?
So.
God damn it! The fucking delay.
And then not around the stack screw, just around the standoff.
So. Like that?
Yes, like that.
Okay. Yeah, so that works too, but the problem with that is your wires are on top of each other, right? So the wires come in at like a 45 down.
Yeah, you have to
pads. Yeah,
right, I have to route the wires very specifically, and I usually have to cut them different lengths to make sure that they do the right thing.
Sure. One of the really cool things with FPV in general being so DIY is that like you know, each one of us can kind of develop our favorite way of doing this, and there's just no wrong answers. Like if that, you know, if you do that and you don't have pads ripping off, perfect. Like that, you know, that's all that matters. And like everybody, we all crash different. We all have different builds, and so there are going to be different ways of doing this stuff. It's one of the fun things of like staying into this hobby for a long time is you get to actually see that, right? Like you won't see that in your first year. You'll see that year 2, year 3, year 4. You'll be like, well, I've been running my wires in this one way, but God, I keep having pads rip off. Let me try a different way. And then all of a sudden you're like, shit, the pads are ripping off worse now. Let me try a third way. And it's like really, really cool. It's a really neat way of having your way of doing it, that the way that you crash, the way that you build, the frames that you buy, right? Like everything kind of factors into that. And so yeah, it's a perfect example of like that element of that like a lot of people don't really think about, right? A lot of people just like slam the build together. It looks like a 3-year-old did it, and then they wonder why it falls out of the air and shit like that. And then there's us lunatics that overthink this shit and end up with builds that fly better, to be totally honest. Because it does matter. This stuff does absolutely matter. Jesus, it's 12:01. Okay, so I gave you guys some soldering tips. We're gonna fly a couple batteries. Can you hit me with a couple more chat questions?
The MYK says, Ciotti, do you slide the wire sheath up to your solder joints?
Yes, very much so. That's actually pretty important in my opinion. You've got your PCB that has like that, you know, 90-degree angle on the side. You want the silicone of the wire to butt up against that. If you have a section of wire where it's just the exposed strands, that is where it's going to bend over and over and over, and it's going to break at that spot. So you always want that silicone butted up against the pad so that when the bend happens, it bends with the silicone, and it's going to do a gentle bend. It's not going to like target one specific spot that's a weak point that it's going to eventually break. Really good call. Thank you for calling that out.
Striker says, just got a Crux 35 BNF. It's so hard to just fly it and not change anything. There are like 30 mil standoffs and about 5 mil of clearance between the VTX flight controller top plate, and it's pissing me off.
Yeah, I don't do well with bind and flies for those same reasons. It's impossible not to tear them apart, at which point might as well have just build it from scratch.
Striker also says the margins are too big. The build can be shorter. It's running motor plugs on 3.5 inch. I just want to change everything. Man, just hearing the description. Yeah, just hearing the description. I want to come to your house and change it for you. Uriel says, difficult questions. Where are we going? Deep, deep, deep. Yafu says, Ciotti, should we use motor connectors on bigger sizes like 3 inch, 5 inch, 7 inch? MR30 connectors have existed for quite a long time, yet nobody uses them. I use them.
Yeah, a lot more people than you would think use them. It's not for me, which is insane because like it would help with testing, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't want a motor to come unplugged in midair, and like I know the chances of that are damn near nil, but
I zip tie both sides down, both sides of the connector. Yeah. With a skinny zip tie, just so that if I break an arm, it would disconnect.
Right. I mean, I guess for me too, the other thing is that I use the LED race wires.
Yeah.
And they make swapping motors really, really easy.
I mostly stopped using connectors once I moved to LED race wire, or race wire generally, because I started on the Bardwell race wire to begin with.
Yeah. I now that I think about it, I would prefer to have the LEDs on the arms with the race wire and then just deal with the couple seconds of soldering versus the MR30s, because the MR30s, you're probably not going to have enough room for those and for LED race wire. I mean, it would be silly to do it, but I guess you could put LEDs somewhere else. But man, the LED race wires are just such a simple, easy, like no-brainer way of having LEDs and quick motor swaps.
One place where I will say that you should use connectors and not LED race wires, somewhat ironically, is if you're racing, because you have minutes between heats, and if you got to get a craft back up in the air, the time that it takes to break out the soldering iron, wait for it to heat up, solder, desolder, solder, blah blah blah, and the possibility that you rip a pad off of an LED race wire and have to swap the whole race wire. It's so much better for you to just go ahead and bite the bullet on MR30 connectors. That's why heads up on his shop, Fly 533. That's why I think he still does have MR30 connectors pre-installed on his race motors.
On there. Yeah, I've seen that on there. Yeah, for racers, it's probably a no-brainer to do the MR30s. That makes a difference. That's a good call. Beep! Don't beep! Goggles, don't beep. Kevin, sorry. By the way, friends, I'm flying the indestructible Tiny Whoop with the Weebleed 340 mAh batteries right now.
Ryan says, Ciotti, I'm sure I missed it, but why do you not go T-mount on this build?
Because it's a Tiny Whoop.
I think he was talking about 3.5. Yeah,
you're talking about. The T-mount screws are so easy to drop and lose in the grass. I really like the M5 nuts. It just makes prop changes like twice as fast.
I wish that Bob Ruge of FPV Cycle, his 3mm shaft for micro, not tiny whoop, but micro motors would have caught on.
Me too. Those are what's on the 2104 motors I run on all the CiottiFPVs, and they're great.
Yep. Yeah, they are. TMYK says, my motor wires are artisanally hand braided and ethically sourced.
Fuck yeah.
He also says, dude, this rig looks locked in. Locked TFN.
Yeah, so this is Weebleed 702 40,000 kV motors with the 1.5 mil tiny motor shafts, and then these are the new Gemfan 1219S propellers with the 1.5 millimeter holes in them. I think this is a 2G4 AIO. Not that it really matters. Cockroach V3 frame, and I don't know it. Oh, Mobula 6 canopy with a that one hurt, with a Runcam Nano 3. Not the lightest build, but certainly the most durable, and like it's enough of everything. It's like it's light enough. It has enough power. It has loads of durability. And so, yeah, it's really, really good.
Nathan Wells says, in light of the 04 gyro issues, what gyro does Flywoo use? Don't they make their own 04 light camera replacement?
They make a housing, but it has all the DJI internals. Flywoo doesn't necessarily like make that. They're just repackaging the 04.
If you are not aware, DJI does digital encryption to lock the ability for other camera manufacturers to be able to add cameras to DJI Air units. I think the O2 stuff, so the Vistas and the OG Air units, didn't have this pairing in play, but for O3 and O4, you have to use their cameras, or you end up with like the calibration warning and some other stuff that doesn't work quite right. Yeah, thanks DJI. Appreciate you. Oh,
thanks,
look at
DJI.
that boy. Look at that boy. His fluff going in the breeze.
Great, right? It's the best.
Striker says, I forgot to mention this. Bind and Fly doesn't have a capacitor on its on the pads. It's on the lead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's pretty much worthless there.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess it's not going to hurt anything. It's
better.
Although they can be annoying to fit under the battery strap and shit.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. I run caps on my builds that have them out on the end of the lead.
Same.
Those are worth the investment. If it already comes pre-done, fly it until it breaks and then replace it. Add a cap board to it.
Yep. Indeed. By the way, those were both We Bleed 340 mAh batteries. This is now a Lava V2. If you guys want to try to like look at the difference between the batteries, but I'll be honest, I can't tell.
Yafu says, Ciotti, all motors, no matter the size, should have stator wires going to the pads because I'm so sick of having useless motors with stator wire that broke too short to use. Amen.
Yeah, god damn it. If anything for the FPV industry comes out of Tiny Whoops, it should be PCBs at the base of the motor.
Mm-hmm. It's not that much.
I spent so much time in Tiny Whoop land that when I went back to these 3-inch rigs and I had that happen, I was like, what the fuck? This motor is absolutely worthless. It's not, the wires are not long enough to reach to any kind of a race wire. I'm literally going to throw this stator away, save the bell, but throw the stator away because the wires are too short and I'm not dealing with stripping the wires and soldering to the stator windings. Super annoying.
Let's see. CMYK says, oh snap, new props dropped. How do you like them? Big improvement?
They're not as good as the HQ Ultralights, but they're good enough. They're certainly better than the other 1.5 mil shaft, 1.2 inch props, which were the 1210s. So they're a huge improvement over the 1210s, but they're not quite as good as the HQ Ultralights. They are good enough, though. This thing flies great, and it is, like, never going to bend a motor shaft like this. And that's... being able to just absolutely obliterate this thing and not think about durability at all is really nice. As evidenced by 3 Matty flips in a row dropping down into that cube. I've not done that many consecutively. That was pretty fucking hot shit, I gotta be honest. Last battery coming. One more Lava V2 320. How we doing on chat?
Pretty good. We only got one left, and it's Jimmy the Cow going.
I see it. I heard it. What's that move from? See how long I can go without crashing. Crashes in 3, 2, 1.
Yukin says Ciotti went back to using the 1210 and actually kind of liked them more than the 1219s.
Really? Why? You flying outside? I'm going to guess he's flying outside.
That's what I would guess.
Oh, boy. I tried to let that hang absolutely forever. As did I just there.
Hey, Ryan says, got 12 in today. Appreciate you.
Love that. 12 is a good number. 12 is better than 6. Oh, God, that was close to the back of the desk. Holy shit.
Brandon Bean says, I found a 31 millimeter prop in my bed. I knew I'd find it eventually.
Yeah. I found one the other day down here. I was like, I remember when I lost that during a live stream. I knew I would eventually step on it.
Yukin says, I think I just like the bi-blades off throttle and know I'm flying inside.
No shit. Okay. I mean, perfect example of everybody likes something different.
Yeah, I have found that I prefer, at least on Tiny Whoops, I prefer the feel of the bi-blades to the tri-blades. Pretty much across the board.
Yeah, the biblades are very fun. I will absolutely say that. I enjoy flying them, but the lack of grip in such a busy space here, it just gets me every time. It's just like, oh wow, I didn't expect that angry fucking German face to be looking at me when I rearm. This guy, Jesus.
You know, we don't talk about taste much in FPV, but the prop choice is really one of those things that it's, you know, there are some that are just wrong because they're not balanced well or they're not formed well or whatever.
Or they're quad blades.
Or they're... But, like, people, like, the feel of a quad, like, that is a taste thing. Some people like them tight. Some people like them loose. Some people like them to float and skid a little. Some people like them to really, really bite into the corners. It's a taste thing.
Indeed.
Some people like Crystal Pepsi. I'll never understand them.
Other people like crystal meth. You know, no judgment.
Ryan Stott says, you try the Gym Fan 1614 from the Air 75 2 BNF yet? They're super smooth.
Say that one more time. What's the prop?
Gym Fan 1614.
If that's the tri-blade, I did. I don't like any of the... for 1.6-inch props, it's all bi-blade all the time for me. Because I only fly those outside, and outside I want as much slidey as possible. So yeah, the 1.6-inch tri-blades are always too grippy outdoors, and like, yeah, the bi-blades are my jam. Plus they're heavy. The tri-blades are all like so much heavier. I really like the bis. I flew 4. You guys fly your full 6, or at the very least, the remaining 2, so that we can all have flown 6 batteries today.
Striker says, yo, Kevin, you cannot start the sentence like that, freakazoid. Okay. And Yafu is quoting us, some people like them tight, other people like the crystal meth. CiottiFPV and the voice of God.
That's what you'll have learned. That's the main lesson in tonight's live stream.
That's right.
Thanks for hanging, friends. Thanks for helping out, Kevin.
Hey, you're welcome.
Any closing thoughts?
Oh, no, not really. Just
fair enough.
And I am burnt out.
Word. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. CiottiFPV.com if you like these live streams and would like to continue learning with us and figuring out the best combos and just hanging and living better lives. Big mental health rant on yesterday's live stream. If you're at all interested in living a better life, check out like the first hour or so of that. We hit on some stuff that doesn't commonly get talked about, so go check it out. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. I don't know what we'll be doing, but it'll be Whoop related because it is Whoop Wednesday. Be good, friends. Thank you again, Kevin. Here comes some more Criterium Cup flying from my yearly live broadcast event in Anniston, Alabama from about a month ago with all my 04 Pro setup. This was the AOS Cine 30 V5 in the beginning of the stream and here as well. Be good, friends. See you Wednesday.
Yeah. Out in the yard where the grass grows wild, CiottiFPV's goggles locked, grinning like a child. Teddy spaghetti's, fur flies, and jet wash dreams. Yeah. Chasing small whoops like a dog possessed fiend. Eyes on a neon blur, hard in the chase. Big fuzz and prop spin, all tangled in place. Yeah. Four-legged rebel with a rotor stir tail in the circus of the sky. They never fail. CiottiFPV, Teddy Spaghetti, dynamic duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed.
throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shotties on sticks, Teddy's on pause. Side by side, legends breaking all the laws. Through the kitchen, over couch scale terrain. Backyard mayhem in their flight domain. No ground too sacred, no loop too tight. Fuzz, fuel, fury ignites the night. When pilot and pup lock eyes on the prize, every whoop they conquer is a fresh cut surprise. Yeah. Yo, Shotty behind the sticks, Teddy's leading the pack. Prop guard missiles unleashed, never looking back. No leash, no map, just freestyle Mike. They on the dog drone streets every day and night. Said whoops, hitting low, gotta nail the dive, Teddy. Push throttle up, feel the beast come alive. I see the neon arc, got the sticks locked in, Teddy. Yeah, let's rip this loop, ride the roar of the wind, Teddy. Yep. Yeah, CiottiFPV, Teddy's spaghetti, diamond and duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Teddy's spaghetti. Barking at the breeze, falling at top speed things, zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah, when you hear that bar cut the rotor hum, you know Ciotti and Teddy's mission's just begun. FPVs, fur-faced legends, legends singing loud. Yeah, Teddy spaghetti and CiottiFPV always proud.